Tinashe turned up a switch when she released Nasty in late April of 2024. It since struck internet gold, has went completely viral, and it started a new conversation around her name among those that thought she would fade away since she went independent. Its viral moment has inspired a challenge that both her musical peers and the general audience are participating in. As the song and her sound continue to trend upwards, everybody besides her core audience are coming to realize that they were wrong about her. And as Tinashe is looking to roll out her new album Quantum Baby very soon, I wanted to take a brief trip through Tinashe's journey and how her journey has inspired me.
I felt like in the past, there was a lot of pressure on each release to kind of prove that you deserve a next release. And so I feel like that's kind of out the window, and that's really nice.
I often allow the lows in my journey to dictate how I create, focusing on the negatives more than the positives, and allowing self-doubt to creep in. I admit it. So in these times, I look to other artists for inspiration and direction. Today's case is Tinashe. I didn't have a strong grasp on Tinashe's identity prior to 2019, and only caught a glimpse of her through her major label singles and a couple of mixtape songs. After I heard Songs for You, I understood immediately that I didn't know Tinashe at all. It was a very pleasant surprise, and since then I've learned so much from her. Upon beginning my research, I learned that Tinashe went through a drastic shift in her life back in 2019, starting with leaving RCA due to creative differences, signed to Roc Nation for management, and embarked on a fresh start. And while some may have thought she was finished, she was just getting started.
You gotta catch one of these R&B chicks that's going nowhere fast like Tinashe.
Take me back to the moment where you knew you couldn't be at your old label anymore.
We just weren't kind of in alignment, me and my record label at the point. Just had this feeling in my gut that this wasn't right. This wasn't the situation that I needed to be in.
A growth and maturation process took place for Tinashe leading up to Songs for You and 333. I look at every album in her catalog as a timestamp of where she was at in her life. And what I've learned from artists who were previously major label artists that go back to their indie roots is that their careers are now 100% their responsibility. And it was interesting to see how Tinashe responded to the challenge.
And I think that whenever I, most feel inspired to do that is usually when my back's against the wall.
During the making of Songs for You, she built a home studio, took creative risk, explored and experimented with different sounds, and found peace within living in the moment, and was able to craft a body of work that she and her fans can connect with.
You're the fighter.
Right.
While studying Tinashe, I've learned that it's extremely difficult finding a balance between business and art. And even though Tinashe doesn't look back on her time with a major label as a failure, leaving RCA was necessary for her to find a new perspective and shape new experiences. In this era, Songs for You was dedicated to those that have been with her from the very beginning.
What's your favorite part about releasing new music?
I think probably just getting it off your chest.
It's a certain level of freedom that comes from recording in a safe and comfortable space, with full creative control, and with collaborators and friends that you trust. Sometimes as a creative, it's a daunting feeling to express who you really are and to say what you feel for fear of being critiqued or judged. So you settle for hiding who you are and how you really feel, and sacrifice authenticity in the process to appease others. And I feel that's the struggle that Tinashe had as a major label artist. To be fair, nothing can really prepare a creative for what happens after your art leaves your hands and into the world. I always find it fascinating that when talented artists such as Tinashe admit openly to self-doubt and expressing the fears of being vulnerable, and also the perception that comes with being vulnerable, that somehow the fragility of human emotions makes you weak. And I learned along the way that the more you train your mind to view vulnerability as a strength and not a weakness, the less confined your art becomes.
It's exciting to hear the feedback, and when people like it, that's all that matters. You're like, okay, it was all worth the wait. Whew.
How do you define success for an artist, or for a content creator, or for humans in general? Is it money? Is it attention? Awards? Compliments? When we as fans discuss our opinions of where our favorite artists should be, or how they should identify success for themselves, I often find it very different than what the artist envisions for themselves. And the reason for that being, I think, happiness.
When I first started, it was very much like DIY. I was filming everything.
You came from mixtape culture and you were doing this before anybody else got involved.
I remember Tinashe saying that before she signed to RCA, that is when she felt the most inspired, open, and happy. and for her to leave the major label system and go independent is a scary jump. A move that might have seemed ill-advised by those who are not her core audience. A decision that I'm sure many criticized and gave their opinions on. But she gambled on herself and is turning out to be a blessing in disguise. And what some may have labeled as a failure prior to 2019 have to reevaluate that differently in 2022 and beyond. I would love to know what it's like to create from a place of freedom and security, to feel gratitude in the face of adversity, to go through these emotions and then have the reassurance afterwards that you will be granted an opportunity to not only make mistakes and go through your trials and errors, but to find a solution for yourself, to find peace within your relationship with frustration, and to grow, recharge, and recover. Tinashe was able to find success on her own terms despite being doubted and counted out. And I learned that in order to achieve success on your terms, you have to be fearless. As creatives, we cannot predict what will happen along the way. And as scary as that feels, we still rely on our own gut and intuition to guide us and have faith that things will naturally fall into place. And as a creative who depends on the work to secure me financial freedom to be able to do this full time, I often operate from a place of despair and with my back against the wall. A lot of people are afraid of failure, even me at times. And I think we would all have a better relationship with failure if we looked at it as a necessary part of the process. The meaning of 333 is telling you to learn to have fun and be happy on your own, to embrace and celebrate your individuality, and focus on the positives in yourself and in your life rather than fall into the trap of believing you need someone or something outside yourself to feel happy and complete. And now the opportunities are in abundance for Tinashe. With a base that loves her for her, she arrived at something special by weathering out the storm and going through the journey.
You know, who knew that Tinashe would be one of my favorite artists in 2014 when 2 On came out. And I ain't saying 2 On was actually like 2 On. You know, 2014 with Mustard, we was in college, you feel me? It was a good time, you know. It had Schoolboy Q on it. I liked the bridge on 2 On. You know, I like that. I like 2 On. But what I'm saying is, you know, I was like, I didn't know how versatile she would be as an artist. You know what I'm saying? I was like, different girls in my life trying to tell me, you know, Tinashe's that girl. Tinashe, I was like, she cool. You know, she got that 2 On record, right? And she's like, nah, she more than that. You know, she really versatile. Like, she like Baby Janet. I said, baby who? Baby Janet Jackson? They said, yeah, yo, she be singing, she be dancing and all that. She record herself. She be producing. She do it all. She's the architect of her sound. I said, word. I started listening a little bit more to her mixtapes, you know what I mean? And as time would progress, you know, I started checking out a lot of different things, but Songs for You and 333, I was like, she that girl. She that girl. And yeah, she ran into a couple different situations that, you know, people didn't understand her sound and her vision when she was with RCA. You know, I know the Joyride era. You know, it was a confusing time for her, but she got off that and she went the independent route. And most people get swallowed up by the independent route, you know, especially going from a major label system to an indie system. It's not easy for everyone. It's very hard. It's very challenging. You know what I'm saying? And when you're in the major label system, you have all these different departments working your record if they believe in you and invest in you. You know, the A&R comes and champions you in. You get familiar with other buildings. You get marketing and promotion. You know what I'm saying? They have meetings to make sure that you are a success. Mainly that they get the return on their investment. You know, you're a product at the end of the day, which is kind of crazy to think of it in a service industry when it comes to feelings and emotions. Artists put their lives in this, and to be looked at as a product is crazy, but it is what it is, right? You're here to sell music. And they're there for your interest, and we have that much manpower in the building trying to make you a success, trying to make you a household name. It's different. You know, the sales are different. The projections are different when you're going to independent. The access is different. Getting on these different spots, these late night TV shows, these festivals, you know, getting in these playlists, you know, making sure that your single gets sent to radio. You know, radio is expensive, y'all. Radio is expensive. All these things are coming out the budget. That's why when it comes to auditing the label after your deal, most artists are in the red. Most artists are in debt because these are coming against the profit. So all these different things, these expenses, your recording expenses, their features, to get the big features, to get the producers, this costs money. What I'm saying to say is the way that Tinashe continues to make quality music on an independent level, despite not having the infrastructure that is meant for independent artists to still get these, you know, these festival looks, to still be mentioned, to still have this type of steam on her record. All her peers know she's great and talented. She's getting shout outs from Doja Cat, Nicki. All these different people see how talented she is. Even Azalea Banks, her crazy ass. People acknowledge just how talented Tinashe is.
For that, she earned this. The future looks bright for Tinashe.